Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 26.3.1 released to the public over a week ago, and iOS 26.4 Beta 4 has been out to developers and public beta testers for a few days. But there's even more to talk about since the iOS 26.4 Beta 4 is out what's new video. We'll talk about the latest Apple news and celebrations, we'll talk about the latest features, and we'll talk about the overall experience. Not just my experience, but your experience based off the YouTube community poll on the post page, where at the time of this video there's over 13,000 votes and 155 comments. I've gone over all the comments to determine what the experience is like for most of us, so be sure to stick around toward the end of the video where I'll read some of your comments as well. Now, this has been a big week of Apple releases. Apple released the MacBook Neo, the iPhone 17e, iPad Air M4, MacBook Air M5, and MacBook Pro M5 Pro and M5 Max, along with a new Studio Display XDR. However, we can expect even more from Macs, such as a Mac Studio, Mac Mini, and iMac, possibly by WWDC, with even a possible higher-end Mac later in the year called the MacBook Ultra, or possibly a different name. So there's still a lot to look forward to, and that doesn't even include the new iPhones launching later this year with the iPhone 18, 18 Pro, and iPhone Fold. So there's plenty to look forward to, and Apple is having a very big year already with the amount of products it's releasing. Of course, I have videos about all of those new products, so be sure to check those out as well. Now, the new MacBook Neo introduced this week is built differently than previous Macs. Not only is it less expensive, and less expensive if you need repairs, everything seems to be modular. Someone did a teardown on it along with iFixit and everyone else, but if you take off the screws, remove the bottom, everything seems to be modular. They're no longer using glue and tape to hold everything down, and it makes it very repairable. Maybe this is what we'll see with the new MacBook Ultra later this year, or the next MacBook Pro that Apple releases. But let me know what you think of this. It's definitely easier to repair. Let me know if you wanted to pick one up. Mine actually has a scratch on it. I'm not sure you can see it. I'm not even sure where it came from, but it does have a slight scratch on here that you can barely see, but it is there. But let me know what you think of the MacBook Neo in the comments below. Now, I bring up the MacBook Neo because the battery cycles have been confirmed as well. On Apple's website that says determine battery cycle count for Mac laptops, you can scroll down. It shows you how to determine the battery cycle count, but also if you scroll down, it now lists the MacBook Neo with 1,000 cycles. So its life cycle is 1,000. You'll see back in 2009, it was only 300, 2008, 500. So they've really sort of stepped up over the years, increase the battery quality, and it looks like it's good for about 1,000 cycles. Now, Apple this week posted a letter from Tim Cook about 50 years of thinking different. In the letter, Tim Cook reflects on the past creativity and innovation and is celebrating 50 years of Apple. You can actually see it here where it says Apple to celebrate 50 years of thinking different. Today, they actually started that celebration with a surprise concert with Alicia Keys in New York City in Grand Central Terminal. Tim Cook was there, others were there as well, and many people were celebrating. People from different websites, different tech people were there. So quite a big celebration, but maybe we'll see much more of this in the near future since Apple is celebrating their 50th anniversary on April 1st. Apple has also been posting some fun videos on TikTok about the Apple launch this past week with the MacBook Neo, and now they have a new Instagram account called Hello Apple. You can see it here and follow it yourself. There's a few different fun things here where Tim Cook did a quick pit stop and sort of a tire change on a golf cart at Apple Park. You'll see the letter here about celebrating 50 years and a few other things. So if you're not following them already, you'll see they have 112 followers, but they have a new account there as well. Apple also announced Friday Night Baseball is returning. You'll see it returns on March 27th for its 5th season on Apple TV. So if you're on Apple TV Plus, it says exclusive weekly MLB doubleheaders return with the Los Angeles Angels at the Houston Astros and the Cleveland Guardians at the Seattle Mariners. So it's starting not too long from now, and it will be on Apple TV like it has been year over year for a while. When it comes to the weekly Apple tip, there's one thing I wanted to share. Since we're waiting for the new Siri with Gemini, well, you can just make it activate Gemini using your action button. So I wanted to show you how you can do that. So if we go into our settings, we go down to action button. Within action button, we scroll over to where we have controls, and within controls, we can choose a control. As long as you have Google's Gemini installed, just scroll down here and you can select other things such as ChatGPT as well. You'll see there as an option. But if we scroll down to Gemini, you can bring it up with the Talk Live, Type Prompt, or something else. So now I have it set to Talk Live. So instead of just using the control center, I can press and hold. and it will go directly into Gemini into Talk Live. So if you want to do that, you can easily jump right into Gemini and basically get all of the features and maybe more that we'll have with Siri in the future directly on your iPhone. But again, we'll have to wait and see with Siri with context, what they introduce there and how it changes things. As far as new features in iOS 26.4 Beta 4, if we go into Music, go to our library here, go to Playlists, and maybe we'll just select Classical Music. You'll see we, of course, have our typical icons. But now if I move my finger over them, they sort of respond where I place my finger. Maybe move it over the Shuffle button, you'll see it gets a little bit bigger. Do the same over Downloads, it gets a little bit bigger. And you'll see it now interacts or lets you know that you're interacting with that button. On the previous beta here with Beta 3, you'll see it doesn't do that. So if I put my finger over or my thumb over the play button, it doesn't do anything. And while not new to Beta 4, if you press and hold on maybe the download button, it's a quick way to jump right into Add to Playlist. So that also works in Beta 3, but again, you can press and hold here and it will jump right in. But now the buttons are more interactive. So they're making quite a few changes directly in Music this time around. When it comes to app updates this week, well, there's a big update for Apple Invites. So if we go into the App Store, within the App Store, this week they updated it to version 1.7.0 a couple days ago, and it says Invites Countdown widget now features a next upcoming option to count down automatically to your next closest event, updating as each event passes while still allowing you to manually select a specific event. It also contains bug fixes and performance improvements. So that part's vague, but at least we get a new widget that allows you to count down to the next event that you've scheduled. Google this week updated Google Maps in a big way. You'll see they posted this on their website where it says how we're reimagining maps with Gemini. If we scroll down, it says you can ask about any place, so you can ask anything about any place. If we continue to scroll down, you'll see it says take the guesswork out of your drive, but one of the biggest changes is immersive navigation. It's their biggest transformation in over a decade. And this is not like Apple Maps where many people are saying, oh, look, there's 3D maps. This actually shows you a more direct route, exactly where you should turn, and even shows you where you should park and things like that. So this is a much bigger update, and I can't wait to try it out. It should start rolling out in the US already. Some people are already seeing it. Apple is also releasing some new games this next month or so. Typical of what they post on Apple Newsroom, Apple Arcade adds award-winning hits Dredge Plus, Unpacking Plus, and My Very Hungry Caterpillar Plus. That's coming in April, and it says fun updates come to hit games, including others as well, with Disney Spellstruck and others such as Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. So lots of different updates on Apple Arcade, and again, those are coming in April, most of those updates. Also, there's an odd addition for Shazam. Apple owns Shazam, but now you can use it directly within ChatGPT. So if you want to use Shazam in ChatGPT outside of your iPhone, you can do that now. The iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max are almost 6 months old at this point, and the more I use it, the more I like it. The feeling of the phone is great without a case, and despite it being a softer material this year, I've had no issues with it. I don't typically drop my phone, and it's really holding up just fine for me. I'll of course have a follow-up review and talk about the experience in a future video, but let me know what you think of the iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max in the comments below. When it comes to releases this week, well, we did get a surprise release for older devices. You'll see here, Apple released iOS 16.7.15 for older devices, along with the iPad version, and iOS 15.8.7, again, along with the iPad version as well. So those are available for older devices, and they patch a very well-known security exploit, and this is definitely one I would update to on a device that supports it. Also this week, Apple stopped signing iOS 26.3 and iOS 18.7.5. That means you can no longer downgrade to those versions even if you wanted to. You'll have to stay on iOS 26.3.1 and iOS 18.7.6. Now this coming Monday, we could see iOS 26.4 RC. That's typically what we would expect, maybe on the 16th or 17th. As long as there's not a beta 5, I would expect the RC with a public release sometime around the 23rd of March. That's typically what we see every year. Then after that, maybe later that week or the following week, we'll see iOS 26.5 Beta 1. Maybe we'll finally see Siri 2.0 with Google Gemini integration. And also, of course, iOS 27 Beta 1 is just a few months after that, in June, typically around WWDC 2026. I would expect that in June, maybe around June 8th or so, and then of course betas all throughout the summer with a public release in September, right around the iPhone 18 and iPhone Fold launch. So that's typically what we see every year. Of course, we'll have more betas and more public versions in between that. Also, one thing to note about iOS 26.4, do not expect the upgrade with end-to-end encryption RCS messaging to come to that version. Apple said in testing that they were going to allow it to be tested, but it wouldn't be out in 26.4 according to the notes. So just keep that in mind. It will be coming in a future version. As for the AirPods Pro 3 experience, so far it's been pretty good this week. Now, I have been using different headphones from time to time, but they seem to stay connected. They're staying connected well, with the exception of my M1 Ultra Mac Studio. So it seems to be working fine on MacBook Pros and iPads and things like that, but just my Mac Studio seems to have some Bluetooth issues. But overall, they seem to stay connected without an issue, and that seems to be the case with the update as well. Now, of course, those on iOS 18.7.5 and older seem to really like the update. I haven't seen a single complaint in the comments on the community poll or anything like that. So that seems like it's a great experience. However, the experience on iOS 26.3.1 is generally pretty good as well. Many of you are saying that RAM management is no longer an issue, so you go into maybe an app, go back out, go into another app, go back out, go into the previous app, and it's staying loaded. Things aren't reloading as much, and many people say it's fixed. The other good news is many people are saying CarPlay is finally fixed, where it no longer disconnects or crashes. So that's great, and also general stability is much better on iOS 26.3.1, according to most of you in the comments. Very few crashes, most things are just working properly. However, there are still some bugs. A few of you are still saying CarPlay is an issue with audio dropouts, but most people are saying it's resolved. Lag, of course, when scrolling, or just animation lag in general, is particularly present on older phones. Also, sometimes apps are freezing, such as Notes, again, mostly on older phones, but going into native apps seem to be nice and fast and smooth, but again, some people are saying they're freezing. But I think the number one complaint is that notifications are delayed for some. However, I'm hearing this from many people, even on the betas as well. Maybe this is a server-side bug, seeing delayed notifications, delayed email, and they seem to coincide together, and both with the public version and beta version. So sometime this week, maybe there was an issue on the server side. Also, some of my family has been having issues with the alarm. So if you use the clock, you're using it for an alarm with sleep and wake up. Some people are saying it's just not triggering and allowing you to hear the alarm. So make sure if you go into this, go into your alarm, make sure that the sound is actually selected. Some people are seeing that deselect. Make sure the volume is turned up as well, and that you have the snooze duration longer, that you're not accidentally hitting it. But other than that, it's working fine for me, but I am hearing from a few people that it's still not working. When it comes to iOS 26.4 Beta 4, I've been using it full-time on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and CarPlay seems very good on it. It hasn't disconnected for me. I'm using wireless CarPlay. It seems like they've finally resolved everything. The overall experience is generally very snappy, really smooth, going into different applications, going back out. I really have no complaints, with one exception to lag, and that's typically when you unlock the phone, swipe up, scroll. Sometimes it lags, or sometimes when I just sit for a moment and then scroll again, just like that, it will lag. Other than that, I'm not seeing that lag, but people are mentioning this from time to time in different applications. And again, it just lagged there. It seems to be hit or miss. So I'm not sure why it's doing that, but it seems to be fairly stable. Other than the notification issue I mentioned with 26.3.1, a few other people are saying that phone calls are dropping more with Beta 4 and Public Beta 3, and also saying they're having issues with Wi-Fi as well. I'm not really seeing it with this beta. In fact, I would say it was fixed with this beta if you were having issues before with Wi-Fi, but again, there's complaints of keyboard lag. So if we go into Notes, some people are saying that when you type a note like this is a new note on iPhone 17 Pro Max with iOS 26.4 Beta 4. Now, some people are saying it's mistyping what they've typed. This is a well-known bug. It seemed like it was fixed, but a few people are reporting it again. The only other issue I'm hearing about with 26.4 Beta 4 is in the UK with age verification. The pop-up is still showing up, and some people are unable to get around it, so it's locking them into an under 18 mode, it seems. So that's definitely a bug. Apple said it was a bug, but we'll have to wait and see if it's actually in the final release. When it comes to overall performance, well, as I mentioned before, it's generally smooth, so 26.3.1 is on the air here. In fact, let me get an older phone so I can show you that as well. So on iPhone 11, you'll see here if I scroll, it generally seems smooth, even though it's only 60 hertz. If we go into the app library and scroll, it's smooth. Of course, that doesn't have ProMotion, but the 17 Pro Max here does. And again, it's nice and smooth here. But even on the iPhone 11, if we open up an application, we'll go into music here, scroll, you'll see it stutters just a little bit, but then speeds right up. It's not perfect, but this is an older phone. Going into the camera is nice and fast. Go back out, go back in, snap a photo. It seems like it works okay. Probably not as good as when it was released to the public with its initial iOS version. I would still love to see the option to be able to roll back with security updates. When it comes to the overall heat, iOS 26.3.1 and iOS 26.4 Beta 4 and Public Beta 3 are staying nice and cool overall. After things are done processing in the background, there's really been no complaints about it. But let's go ahead and run benchmarks, and we'll measure on Beta 3 and Beta 4. On the iPhone 17 Pro Max running iOS 26.4 Beta 4, the overall temperature is right around 33.5 to 34 degrees Celsius. And on iOS 26.3 Beta 3, we're seeing about 31.7 or 32 degrees Celsius. So we're at about the same point in the benchmarks, and they're warming up similarly. Again, you barely can feel the heat on the back whatsoever though. So these are staying nice and cool. Benchmarks completed, and you can see side by side Beta 3 to Beta 4 are very similar like you would expect. 3,833 for single core on Beta 4 with 9,803 for multi-core. It's within about 100 to 150 or so between both devices. That's pretty typical, and that variance can be normal, but it's well within the margin of error. But both doing very well, and again, that's why they feel so smooth. Everything's running like you would expect. When it comes to battery life, let's go ahead and take a look at iOS 26.3.1 first. Thanks to Abhishek for sending in his battery consistently. This is on an iPhone 16e running iOS 26.3.1 with 99% battery health and regularly charged to 85%. You'll see he had 4 hours and 44 minutes of screen on time, 47 minutes of screen off time, and used only 49% of the battery. This is pretty phenomenal battery life for an iPhone 16e, so that's great news. When it comes to iOS 26.4 Beta 4, let's go ahead and go back out of this. We'll go to battery health. You'll see I'm at 100% with 37 cycles. And if we go back and take a look at my usage here, yesterday I had 2 hours and 57 minutes of screen active time, 1 hour and 18 minutes of screen idle time, and used 54% of the battery. This sounds low, but it's actually good for me. You'll see the day before, 3 hours and 49 minutes of screen active time. The day before that, 1 hour and 18 minutes. So it looks like it's improved day to day, and it's getting much, much better. So 2 hours today with just 35% usage. So it's increasing every single day and getting much better. There is a bug here where it deleted one of the bars though, as it's still there, but not showing. So this was with a previous beta. So still an odd issue there, but it definitely seems like it's getting better. In fact, based on comments, 68% of you on iOS 26.3.1 have said that battery life is good or has improved with iOS 26.3.1. With iOS 26.4 Beta 4, it's even better. 75% of comments on those using the latest public beta or developer beta report good battery life. So this is great news. This isn't the same battery life. This is better battery life. So much better statistics than what we've seen in the past. If you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.3.1 or iOS 26.4 betas, if you're not already on iOS 26.3.1, I would definitely upgrade. It has security improvements, and the overall experience seems to be getting much better if you're on iOS 26. So just a much better experience, and it's continually improving from update to update, it seems. However, I would hold off on iOS 26.4 betas, as usually I'd wait until probably the RC if you're not already on those betas. If you are on the betas, just make sure you're on the latest version. Now let's go ahead and take a look at storage. We'll compare Beta 3 to Beta 4. So we'll go to Settings, and just to clear up some confusion, some people were saying every update is adding more and more storage usage. That's just not the case. It actually overwrites the old update. So you're not using more storage unless the update's slightly larger, but then it can drop back down. But under General and then iPhone Storage, wait for it to load. We'll scroll to the bottom here, and you'll see on the left, iOS 26.3 Beta 3 is taking up 22 gigabytes, where Beta 4 is taking up 21.92 gigabytes. Let's see what's taking that up, and you'll see, well, most of it is iOS went down in size. So it's slightly smaller on Beta 4, but not that much. Again, with system data, it's even lower on beta 3, but this goes up and down as needed, and it's staying nice and low. So anything below about 60, I really don't pay much attention to, but it's below 20 gigabytes. And I have a 1 terabyte model, so it's not really an issue as it's not using up that much storage. But if you can't install apps, that's when it becomes an issue. Now, as far as the overall experience and what you had to say, let's take a look at some of your comments. British Dodger says, I have an iPhone 16 Pro Max with iOS 26.3.1, and it is smooth so far. Battery life is the best so far in iOS 26. Haven't seen any real issues. Caracas 7326 says, iPhone 17 base on iOS 26.3.1. Pretty good overall. Had a bug when unlocking the phone with always on display that basically just showed the clock behind the widgets when scrolling toward the right on the lock screen. But it is really stable and much better than anything prior to it. Really waiting for that Gemini integration too. Joel Miller 2609 said, 14 Pro Max 26.3.1 and the issue of laggy animations when switching to recent apps tab while using clearer tinted icons still persists. The issue only happens when the home screen page is full of icons, doesn't happen on the widget app or the home screen page either, 2 or 3 icons. Moxie Floxy says, I upgraded to 26.3.1 on iPhone 13 mini after being on iOS 18.7.3 holdout for as long as I could. Upgraded because of security updates. It's not horrible on the whole, but definitely could be better. I get random screen lag sometimes when I unlock the phone, and whenever I go into edit or move app icons on my home screen, I get a weird flickering effect from the minus button on the icons. I'm personally not opposed to Liquid Glass's aesthetic, but the inconsistent functionality is still just mildly annoying enough to me. Battery life for me has actually been visibly improved since I changed to 26.3.1 from 18.7.3, but iOS 26 definitely does not have that Apple polish that compared to before. Not mad, just disappointed. Wish Apple would focus on iOS reliability instead of trying to stuff all these new features in that I frankly don't really care about. I'm personally actually fine with the fact that the Siri update is getting pushed back because I don't want more AI features in my phone. Jay Muez says, Hi Aaron, I'm using iOS 26.4 Beta 4 on my iPhone 13 and I notice some stuttering when closing apps from time to time. Otherwise, performance is smooth and snappy, battery life is decent with 95% battery health. I'm looking forward to iOS 26.4 RC. Rajgopi1245 says, 26.4 Public Beta 3 on iPhone 16 Pro Max. So far, this is the best beta yet. CarPlay issues are fully fixed for me for the first time on iOS 26. Battery life seems okay, have some rare moments where the screen just freezes, but it is rare. When it comes to iOS 26.3.1, well, it's what it should have been from the very early version. It brings stability and some refinement, but it's still lacking when it comes to overall smoothness. The UI stutters from time to time and the keyboard lag are still problematic. However, it does seem to have great battery life for most, so at this point I would give it a B-. When it comes to iOS 26.4, well, it's on the right path. Currently, I would give it a B+. iOS 26.4 is actually focused on refinement and it shows. While it's still not perfect, it's showing improvement in the right areas. The few remaining bugs are annoying, of course, but for a beta, we've had far worse, and things such as the notification bug can easily be fixed by the time it's released. Battery is also showing great improvements, so for me, it's making me hopeful for the final release. And then even for iOS 27 when that comes out. And so that's everything with iOS 26.3.1 and iOS 26.4 Beta 4 and Public Beta 3. Let me know if you've found any new features I haven't mentioned in the video in the comments below, and let me know your experience and how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.